All right. Yeah. Asexual, you're on
Hi,
with.
I'm fine.
Oh, sorry. Go
Sorry.
ahead. You're on with
Hello.
Ethan and Jenna. Sorry, there's a
We have
second
these
delay.
delays. So, yeah, thanks for asking me to call in. Yeah, cognitive processing therapy really helped me, speaking from my own personal experience, with certain stuck points. So if you find that you just can't get past a certain thing, you probably, at least for me, I probably have a stuck point. So what I do is the way the therapy works is that you you write out the stuck point. Then you reframe it, because let's say, a stuck point could be something that happened if you were abused. And so,
what? Can I ask you a favor really quick?
I felt that I was abused. Sure.
Just on what I had mentioned earlier, can we just try to use I statements? I guess that's a really good way to try to keep all of us, including myself, on track.
Sorry about that. I guess I'm trying to do that with talking about my own experience.
Right. I think you're using the general you, but yeah.
So, let's say I had like an issue with how I was treated because I was abused, and I took responsibility saying it's my fault that I was abused. And that created a stuck point that I couldn't actually function very well in the adult world.
Right.
And so what I would do then is like, okay, this happened, this wasn't my fault. And so then I assess that stuck point. And then it's like, okay, what's my emotional reaction to this stuck point? Is it like at 100% level, a 90% level, a 5% level? And then I go through a list of questions so I could analyze it. So like, for instance, am I mind reading? Am I attributing something to other people that, they're not in there? So am I mind reading? Usually the answer was yes. And that helped to set up that strong point, that stuck point, and keep it there. Is my approach like all or nothing? Is it like I always blame people for this, or I never blame people for this? When I take it beyond what happened to me in childhood. And so for me, it was usually on the all side. Some people, it might be the nothing side, but for me, it was on the all side. Please remember, I'm not a therapist. I would do that. You go through and just kind of rate things with a variety of questions. And then at the end of that, you restate that stuck point in a more positive light, for like this is like what I can do when this happens, and that's how I rephrase it. And I rephrase it in a more positive way. And then I rate how I feel emotionally. And usually that stuck point, that really bad feeling has decreased me, and it might take several times. It doesn't always happen overnight for me.
So you're kind of stalling.
Huh?
So you're kind of stalling in a way. You're trying to give yourself time to allow that adrenaline to go down, it sounds like. Does that sound like maybe what's happening?
That's a good way of putting it, because you are processing it, and at least I'm processing it, and I'm using my cognition to do it. So I'm taking it out of the limbic system and actually analyzing it.
Right. Because I get so I wonder if you can relate to this, asexual atheist. This is really intriguing to me, this stuck point, because that is actually the part that I can't wrap my head around, because I can do all the questions and I can do the conversation with myself separate from it. It's almost like I'm observing these triggers happening, and I recognize, oh my God, I just realized it's because I'm still in the process of acknowledging it. And you have to acknowledge it before you can accept it, before you can change it. Holy crap.
Yep.
Okay. I just answered my own question. But you see what I mean? Is the being, I guess to share everybody what just went through my head. I'm at the point where I get triggered, and I'm at the point right now where I can recognize that I'm triggered, but I still react emotionally, and I don't seem to have any control over it yet. I do think I'm slowing it down now that I think about it, but that just brings me back to the point of when you have to acknowledge it, right, Ethan, before you can accept it, before you can change it. So I'm sorry to I just went off a little tangent there. You're talking about stuck points, and that just really got me wondering. So think questions like, am I mind reading? Which we're almost always assuming what other people's intentions are,
Mhm.
right? What they meant to do, what they meant to say. Oh, I know that they never would have done this. They spent zero time ever thinking about helping me, right? Is that kind of the mind reading thing?
Well, yeah, it's like, well, like for me, some of the stuck points would be because I was badly hurt. So it's like my assumption is I'm going to be badly hurt again. So that trips into the mind reading because I'm attributing to them a behavior that did occur to me in the past is not necessarily present right now.
Right.
And so it's like, and highly unlikely that it's present right now. So, I take that and it's like, okay, so I've been mind reading. I've been attributing this like all the time. I'm trying to remember some of the other questions. There's like a whole list of questions that you can go through. Is the source of my information, what's the word I want? Is the source of my information accurate, or, is it,
Logical? Does it follow?
or is it like bad information? Is it good information or bad information on that source? And so when I was abused in the past, it was like, well, it was based on my childhood experiences. And so I was not a fully formed adult to really analyze it. So at that point, it's like, okay, it's really not reliable information. The fact that something did happen to me, yeah, that's reliable, but my understanding of it and how I survived it as a child, as an adult, is no longer reliable.
How would you know as an adult?
Analyze it from that standpoint too, huh?
How would you know as an adult that it is reliable, like that you're not overreacting and that it is justified? Would it only be, do you think, from interacting with the person that you have the attached abuse with, or anybody that's taking on those qualities? What do you think?
Well, if it's somebody with the attached abuse, I have a tendency to say, bye-bye. This is a toxic relationship. I'm not invested in it.
Right.
If it's somebody else, it's like for instance, something happened with me and a supervisor at work that triggers something. It's like, what the heck is all that about? And so it's like, okay, so I look at it like, okay, so it's based on how I was treated in the past. This person was just making an observation, not a judgment. And so I was able to noodle it through, you might say, and say, okay, if this should come up again, it's an observation. It's really like not a harsh judgment of me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. That it's not necessarily inaccurate. Right.
Yes. So, like I use my cognition to really look at the situation. It's like, well, no, I'm mind reading here. And it's like, based on my experience with this person, this isn't their behavior to actually do harm to other people. Now, if you see, like for me, if I see somebody who obviously does harm to other people, then it's like, I'm not invested in the relationship and I move on.
What about when it's people doing harm to themselves, like shaming themselves, beating themselves up?
Well, that's a good question. I'm thinking of maybe using that, since we're talking about that today, as like a stuck point. It's like, okay, where did this messaging come from that I'm using in my brain? And so I'm going to go
find the source
process and see what I come up with.
Okay. Yeah. I thank you so much for sharing that with us. Did you?
Oh, you bet. Thanks for.
I was just going to say, did you have any other tips that you wanted to share before we get off? Because we should wrap up soon, but we have another second if you.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's basically about it. If people are interested in this, I would suggest seeing if they can find a therapist to get them started on it.
Secular therapy.
Skill set, they can take it with them.
Yes, secular therapy. Secular therapy project is what I personally recommend. If you're looking for a therapist that is not going to tell you to pray.
Yep. So y'all have a great week. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much.
You know,
yes.
I
Okay,
heard it.
bye-bye.